StarSeed Continuum is an interactive show where high vibe souls come together to read energetic patterns through the evolution journey deck. Are you ready to expand into the cosmos and connect with your star family? Sit back, relax, and connect into the frequency of your highest potential with host Kathy Reed.
Hi, this is Kathy, and this is StarSeed Continuum. And we're doing a roundtable today, and we're talking about some of the trending on Google about UFOs, about disclosure, about things like that. And it's how the collective is starting to be a little more accepting on things that are unknown. They're not immediately jumping into a fear response. I know maybe some people are, but we're waking up, and I know that we're holding that place for the collective to wake up. And so I would like to open it up for a roundtable. I'm going to go first and kind of just tell you some of my experiences I've had with UFOs. This is before I knew anything about turning it inside out. I had a couple experiences where I was sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping. I was in a very vivid dream, and I opened my eyes and I was totally on the ship. This is the big ship. This is the Star of Bethlehem ship that just is right outside our solar system. And on that ship, I got to sit down with the ambassador. He was a big, tall blue man. And so we went into the holodeck room, and we sat across from each other in this simulated reality, and we communed by not even speaking. I mean, here he was with gills in his neck, and he was totally, you know how you see the bar in Star Wars? That's how this guy looked. You know, I mean, he was a being, 3 fingers, not 5. And he held my hands and he said, "See, there's nothing to fear." And this is really one of the first times I've told this story in public. So that was my experience, and I've had many experiences like this. But now that I'm on the Activate Evolution platform, though, my view of it has changed, because now I know that may have been a dream, and I may have gone there, and it felt so real that who knows, I may have been the blue man and myself at the same time. Does anybody have a reflection on that? Just something to add?
I'll talk about some similar experiences that I've had over the last few years. Not as much recently. It was more about 3 or 4 years ago, where I would, this would be the waking state even, where I would just be in a meditation. So I would find myself kind of going into that trance state. And when I did, I would feel myself. One time I was in the bedroom and I felt myself on the bed. And at the same time that I was on my bed, sitting in my bed in this very deep meditative space, the ship was around me at the same time. So I was on ship somewhere, somehow there was an awareness of that connection, and in my body at the same time. And I've had several of those experiences. I've had them here. I've had them in dream state. I've been down in Arkansas, and I've had them in Arkansas, up on Fisher Mountain, and other places by Lake Washita, or Washita, said it wrong. So yeah, and I agree. I think it's just the aspects of ourself that are not fully present. We're multidimensional beings, and so we have these parts of ourselves that, in this world that we live in and how we've seen it, isn't always as clear. But there are times where the veil has thinned, and that borderline, if you will, gets crossed and the two kind of come together and merge and are touched at the same time. So I don't
Is
know if
anybody, oh, Denise,
there's Denise. Yeah.
I've had my experiences always happened like in the dream state. And this week I had a really powerful dream, and it seemed to like last all night. But, you know, in my wake state, I realized that I was in that no time, no space sort of dimension. And in the dream, I was on this spaceship and we were travelers and we went to another world, and it was like advanced beings, very advanced planet. And there was this huge sort of condominium looking like building, but it had no windows or doors. And the beings on the planet would just like float into the building and they'd float out. And so I had a guide with me and I was asking the guide, well, what is this about? And he's like, you can do this. You have the technology. You just have forgotten how to do it. So he says, hold my hand and I will show you. And so I'm holding his hand and he takes me into the building, and my form just turned into particles, and the building itself turned into particles. And whenever I went into the building, it's not as if those particles of the building moved out of my way so I could come through as like a form. They actually went through me and I went through those particles. It was such an amazing experience. And it was just reminding me of how, you know, we are all just one thing. We're connected to everything. And my physical, I wasn't like in a physical form, I was in particle form. And so we just, you know, went through each other. There's another thing I used to do too. I haven't done it in a long while, but I always imagine there's like these healing ships in the galaxy. And, you know, we call them by different names like the Syrians or Arcturians. And sometimes if I have like a really bad headache or I'm experiencing pain or whatever, I would take myself, you know, in my mind into those ships. And one time I was on a ship and there was this room that it was like a pyramid shape. And at the top of the pyramid was a crystal. And, you know, whenever a crystal has a light, the sunlight shines through it, you get all the prisms of color. And so in the pyramid room, there were these crystal beds. And so they had me laying on this crystal bed, and the lights from the crystal in the apex were shining down. And so I had all these, the spectrum of the colors of the crystal just shining over my body. And my body was absorbing the 7 rays of light through the prism of the crystal. And it's just such a powerful healing experience. And of course, I'm an 8, so I'm very visual. You know, I could just see myself there and see everything and feel everything. It's pretty amazing. So I had to share that with you guys today, and you should try it.
yeah, thank you, Denise, and thank you, Luann. So,
I got a little more to say. Yeah, I love that, Denise. I've had those kinds of crystal things too. It's just phenomenal energy. But I just wanted to talk about what's in the collective with all the fear, you know, and how people kind of get really bound up in fear over the whole concept of UFOs. And I think that's what's so beautiful about gamifying it and turning it inside out, because it's there. I mean, what's that movie that Sigourney Weaver was in years ago that I think it was actually called Alien? You know, these big teeth, you know, mucus drooling things coming at her, you know. So, I mean, it's programmed to have this fear response. But I mean, there's really nothing to be afraid of, because it's just an aspect of ourselves, of however that works, wherever that is. And I also wanted to say that I have all my life, my entire life, known that there is more to this world than what we see and what we feel, what's out there and what's around us. And I think that's where people get hung up. And I think that's where there's a potential to turn into fear around it if people start having these experiences and think something's wrong with them, you know, because they're having these experiences. But they're not. It's just a part of life. It's part of creation. And it's nothing to be afraid of. I just wanted to say that.
and one of the things I've noticed is the airline pilots are starting to speak. The ones that have been up in the air with a airplane, and they have had some very unusual things happen. So they're starting to speak. I remember when Jimmy Carter talked about his UFO experience. Back then, it was kind of like everybody just would be quiet in the room when we'd talk about it. But what I'm realizing is that disclosure is happening very organically. And that's how, you know, we're just getting used to these kind of experiences. And I'm going to call on Doriana because I know Doriana's had some experiences. Is there any you want to share or not?
Oh yeah, I have lots to share. Let me move this here. Okay. So I just completed last Sunday 2 weeks with the Stargate Academy. If you're familiar with them, they did a online of their Maui retreat. And during that retreat, which was just boggling, they first brought in these quantum generators that were produced by this guy named David, who was working with the Arcturians, and they had previously done a retreat in Slovenia and another in Costa Rica, planting those devices, and now the third one in Maui, activating this triangle of pyramids. They're called quantum generators, and yet during the retreat, they became known as quantum clarifiers. So clarifying how the quantum field is working through us and the whole cosmos. And they also activated this organic living quantum field that they called the living love light field as the quantum field. So working, you know, within and without. And so then they were working with this lady named Vivian, and Vivian is a bi person. She's human, hybrid. She's a hybrid, and she came in knowing full well why she's here and how she's assisting with on the planet with the Arcturians to bring about these shifts that are happening. And so she and during this thing, then they brought in the Arcturians, and they created within each of us, there were like a couple thousand people around the planet who are part of this etheric Stargate community. And the Arcturians and whoever else was working, they gave us cocoons, put us in cocoons so that, and then took us to other places. So they took us up to a ship, and then we could, so I'm not myself visual, so I don't get these flashing lights and things. I don't see yet, but anyway, we got to be on the ship and to feel around and do whatever we, you know, had to do there. And so that was really cool to, you know, be able to use that bilocation with our consciousness effect. And then we did work with the Lemurians. And of course, all of the Hawaiian Islands are the tips of Lemuria. And so the Lemurians were busy helping. And so then what we did as a group, and of course with these quantum generators, they're bringing in all this new abilities to use in the quantum field, but they raised Lemuria up to, you know, the surface energetically. And so that was pretty cool. And then they put a network right underneath the surface of the water and activated that, and then spread that around to the whole planet through all the oceans and rivers and streams. And so that was really exciting for me to have that, because water is one of the biggest things in our progress now. And so we have that all around the globe. So all these activations and attunements, went out to the world. And then I noticed different people also started talking about things that they were starting to experience, during and after these events that really connect with what went on there, what we're doing, and what all these other groups are doing. So, and I think Denise, you mentioned the Syrians. At one point they brought in Arcturians to be helping with our bodies, and then Syrians came in the back, and so we'd have two people working with us, two beings working with us, and the Syrians were the healing ones. They were helping with the healing frequencies.
Wow.
So that's kind of that in a nutshell with that.
That's great. Mm.
And what I'm feeling with that, Doriana, is that it's just we are stepping up as a race to realize that we are all aspects, all parts. I know that what we've been working with is that we work from the inside out. We are the ones we've been looking for. And I think more and more of us are stepping into our mission, because I've known since a very small child that I'm here for a mission. I know that I'm here to be a way shower, here to be a teacher, and here to disclose what I've experienced. And I'm just willing to step up to do that. And but I'm willing to know it's me that's doing that. Serena, I'm looking at you and I'm seeing that you have something to say.
Oh, you think so, huh? Well, I apologize. We changed our phone carrier yesterday, and mine is still off. And then I just put a malware thing on my computer this morning with my son's help, and it wouldn't take the link into the call. And so I had to call Josh and do a bunch of stuff to get on the call. Sorry. Anyway, I have the only thing I've had experiences of seeing, but when Denise mentioned crystal beds, I went to John of God in Brazil in 2009. And then one of my friends locally has had a crystal bed. So I've had many sessions under the crystal bed, and I've had really beautiful visuals with some of the the ones that do the healing in Brazil, who are long gone from the planet. And the most profound one that was last year, and this doctor from far a long time ago, a different country, while I was in the session, took out my heart and loved on it and kissed it and put it back in my body. And I woke up just bawling, it was such a profound experience. And I've had other, I've had angel things and a lot of angel stuff, but not the ship thing. I haven't been on a ship to my knowledge. If I have, I'm not conscious of it, but I certainly look for them. And I've seen a couple of ships in my location where I live, because I have, some acreage across the water that isn't built on. And I'm in a valley right out of downtown, but it seems to be an area where they hover sometimes. I've just seen them a couple of times, but very distinctly, I have a knowingness that it is a ship. And that the last one was probably last fall. And I remember it was late at night and I don't have any curtains on that side of the house at all. So I'm laying in my bedroom and somehow noticed in the dark, it was like midnight, and there these beautiful green, emerald green, something in the sky. And I went out on my deck. It was really cold. It was close to winter, but there was no noise. It wasn't moving anywhere. And I watched it for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden it just went like that sideways and gone over the hill. It was just like, I just knew, you know, it wasn't like, oh, I wonder if this is such and such. It was a knowingness. So, and I'm asking for them to show up because I read a lot of Arcturian and Syrian messages and all that with the other sites that I follow. And I'm really, I believe, and I'm asking them to come forth because if there's anything I can do to assist their mission, you know, I'm just really willing to do that. And so I just expect that there will be more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is a beautiful experience. Thank you, Doriana, and thank you, Serena. Thank you, Luann. Thank you, Denise. We've got about 10 more minutes. Oh, Luann,
Yeah,
you want to speak again?
I just want to mention, Doriana, you talking about the Maui and Hawaii. I actually just this morning, within the last 2 hours, had a friend who lives in Hawaii, and she was posting on a private chat group pictures of cloud ships that she had from Hawaii, and other pictures that she had given to her friends had seen. So right now in Hawaii, there are a bunch of cloud ships being photographed, and it's trending and people are talking about it. So that's pretty cool.
Way
What you shared
cool.
about the Lemurian lands, you know.
Hmm.
So just wanted to bring that in.
Yeah.
Has anybody else seen cloud ships?
Oh,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, you can sense into a cloud ship that there's something more. It's a frequency. You could feel the frequency behind the ship.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Ariana or Aaron, do you guys have anything to say? Or
Gabriella's had her hand up.
Gabrielle's had her hand up.
You're not
I
seeing her,
didn't see your
Kathy?
hand up, but yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
you
had her hand up.
can go. Just make sure you raise your hand if you got something, you guys. Yeah, my experience is open-eyed as well, and I think part of this call is about raising and holding consciousness about what is around, yeah, whether it is in whatever or wherever they are from. And so if anyone has any thoughts as in us holding that consciousness or vibration of connection, and like Serena, you mentioned, I'm having the intention or put it out to be of service, or like really holding it in consciousness. That sort of came through as I was listening to you guys sharing. And because to be truly honest, up until, not very long, I maybe always thought there's something a bit different about me, but I never actually engaged into searching for information, StarSeed or whatever. So it's like, I would say I lived completely in the unconscious about being a StarSeed. And now I can chuckle about it. Even though it's always, now looking back, always been part of my life all the way, since childhood, but it was nowhere. And the recent experience, I shared it maybe a few months ago. Once I was driving along on a road that is quite out in the wilderness, and I had lived there and looked out to sea, and in the horizon saw cloud, but they literally looked almost like
say, warships. I never felt threatened. The information I got is just they're observing. And I saw them like the same shapes over different days. But anyway, that day I was driving whatever, 80 miles an hour, and I was asked to adjust my speed to just a little bit less than I was going. And was it, I don't know whether it was before or after, but I saw this whatever 20, 30, 40, 50, 100-mile long space cloud ship up in the sky, and I had to adjust my speed. So I was given the information so I could enter the ship. So I'm still driving yeah, while adjusting the speed, and then being given the information that I've entered the ship of light, and I carried on my way, and knowing, well, okay, something is, or where I am in something. And I was being told that there were a couple more to come. And so there's almost a question that wants to be asked, where from here is the question.
Yeah.
We're here on this earth, and as long as we're in the looping cycle, and by the looping cycle I mean where it's that it's almost like the Groundhog's Day. It's like things just keep cycling around. And then if you look at what the movie Groundhog's Day did, is every time he made that cycle, he changed something. And so by the end, he got everything he wanted. And that was the movie, and that was the movie from the 80s or 90s. But it was like, I feel that movies are a way of opening up our consciousness. And that's what I'm seeing. But what I'm hearing you guys all talk. And the truth is this all a part of us. It's all within us. It may be projected outside, but it is coming from us. And that's what I feel it is. Aubriana, you want to speak next?
Sure, since you called on me. I think for me, it's just really exciting because I feel like I always innately knew, and I remember it going from like definitely running in the societal program of fear to developing into like just this feeling inside of me, and then learning about disclosure in 2019. And it's so funny because since learning that there was this disclosure mission that I felt a part of, it's been so fun just to watch it. And now, like in 2023, I'm sitting on a podcast talking about UFOs and aliens or extraterrestrials. And there's definitely this layer of consciousness where I still like to play in like the collective consciousness of it and kind of help like especially the younger people like wake up and realize that there's a safe place to come and talk, and like compassion and stuff like that. So that's where I like to play in. And then I see also everything that everyone here is saying about gamifying it and like, you know, it all being a part of us and the 7 elements and stuff like that. So I can kind of see it from both, like all perspectives. But where I really like to play is like in the trendingness of it, of like, oh, the aliens are out, and like, let's talk about spaceships, and let's go out and like, let's ask them, you know. And it's so interesting how it's transformed from this space of fear to this place of, that's my family, I am them, they're us, you know. And like for me, that's just been the biggest transformation, and so exciting to be here. So
awesome. And as we're getting ready to wrap up, I don't want to put Aaron on the spot, but I'm feeling some light language coming in.
Okay. Is it okay if I just set like a little intention and then?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm just gonna center into the heart, come into the body. And I'm just setting the intention to bring through some light language from our star families that can assist us with the remembrance of who we truly are in this time and place now. Okay. Ani alai anatoi, malinene anana, sinare alanana, nori anate anato, ianaria madrui, orani ritoru, iria natroi, nari naru.
Thank you. That was so beautiful, Erin. Now, before we get off this call, we have some very amazing people here. And if anybody wants to tell them their working website, I'm opening it up before we get off the call to just say that, so that say your website if you'd like to, and if not, that's fine. But if you have some special gift that you want to share in this arena, I'd be opening it up to you guys speaking it and letting people find you if you would like them to. Doriana.
I have something to say before that,
Okay.
and that is a couple years ago, a group published this book, Love Letters from the Future, from our future selves. And there were several of us, and we each had like a little chapter to, and so that kind of fits in with avatars, and that our avatars are, who we're becoming, and we're kind of hooking into our avatars and becoming that, which is what we don't really know what that is. But I've been also listening to Green Tara Guru, and she's been doing a lot of attunements and activations along with Arindabin, and they're bringing in light into the cells and into the ions, and Patricia Cota-Robles was bringing in electrons, and but Green Tara said as a thought that what if we have time traveled back into these bodies from our future selves, and that we're just, time travelers. And so now we're bringing forth what it is that we came here to do, because of course we've already done it, and we're just helping ourselves to go through that. And of course, everybody's from somewhere else. We're all from somewhere else originally. So I just wanted to put that in. And my website, youthingyou.com, is not yet all fixed up for what I'm entering into, but it will be someday. And I want to also say to Aaron from his remote viewing things, that those have been very enjoyable as to taking our consciousness somewhere else and getting information from that. So these are all helping us to get into what later will be teleportation, where we'll be able to just take our whole bodies there.
We're on StarSeed Continuum, and these are my beautiful people, my beautiful family that are stepping up into our mastery and magic. And I am just so thrilled to be hosting StarSeed Continuum. And so thank you. It's about time to wrap it up for a day. So I'm going to stop the video and we will catch you next month.
Thank you for listening to StarSeed Continuum, where we connect you to your highest evolutionary pattern. To learn more ways to play with the Star family or to be a part of this live interactive show, visit activateevolution.com. Now go and live your highest potential.